everyone, and welcome to Estella's Intuitive Chamber. Welcome to a bit of a different video. So I feel this week has been extremely, it's been extremely sensitive. It's been filled with a lot of ups and downs for a lot of people. Um, there's a lot of things going on with love relationships at the moment. There's a lot of people who have suddenly broken up, or there's a lot of people like from the past that have resurfaced. A lot of people that have kind of either broken up or they came back together, or they met their soulmates, or they think they met their soulmates. You know, a lot of things going on within the love department, which is something that is easily to predict with the Venus conjunct Uranus, because Uranus brings to very unexpected and sudden changes, and Venus obviously enhances that feeling of love and um, and stability and beauty and so on. But sometimes with your Uranus, some unexpected stuff can happen. Some unexpected arguments, some unexpected breakups between couples. You know, sometimes unexpected things just happen, and they make us very upset, and there's nothing really you can really do about it. Um, I feel like it might have affected a lot of earth signs. It might have affected a lot of Scorpios because obviously it would make an opposition to the Sun in Scorpio. Um, a lot, generally, a lot of signs could have been affected, but in particular Taurus and Scorpio, and as well those of Aquarius, for example, as well as Leos. So in this case, I wanted, because this like love energy, this very karmic love energy is so high at the moment. When I say karmic, it doesn't always have to be good. Sometimes karmic partnerships end up rather bad than good. Um, on my last video, I had gotten a nasty comment from a person who I used to see back 2, 3 years ago, and you know, it kind of like made me feel okay. So this is the Venus conjoined Uranus. You know, it's gonna be very unexpected, very sudden, and it's gonna leave a bitter taste in your mouth. Not for everyone, because I have witnessed because of the Aries energy. I have witnessed people meeting their soulmate last weekend. You know, they met their soulmate. They're so happy. They're like, woohoo! You know, this is like you know, real love. Or if this is real love, it's exciting. It's beautiful. But I've witnessed some really bad stuff as well this week, just by talking to other people and seeing, you know, a lot of people were hurt and they were like, relationships, breakups happened and so on. So I'm just kind of clearing that before I start my kind of reading. I'm gonna really delve, my God, hang on. I'm gonna really delve deep into this energy, and I'm gonna analyze a chart of so I want to talk about narcissists, sociopaths, and psychopaths, and how to spot them in a natal chart, and how and what is the characteristics of the aspects that they have in their chart, so you could more easily understand how to spot these red flags, and how to maybe potentially recognize that in someone before you get involved with this person, you know. And that I was inspired by the bad comment I got on Monday from this ex-person that think it's funny to harass me every now and then. I don't think it's funny. I think karma is gonna do its beautiful thing that always does. But in this case, it really, because bad stuff inspire me to just keep working more and more on my interests, and keep working on dwelling deep into these issues, you know. And you know, it's a good way, because I already started analyzing chart of celebrities, so let's analyze chart of uh, of a narcissistic stalker kind of. Okay, so the very first thing that um, there is to watch out about a person who is a master manipulator, narcissist, who, for example, likes to, you know, typical narcissistic, sociopathic tendencies. They like to accuse you of stuff, and then when you react, if you're a reactive person or an emotional person, then this person, they always do the boomerang thing. The boomerang thing, I like to call it this way. They just like to shift all the blame back at you without looking deep into themselves. Now, the first thing that I do, for example, when I know I'm wrong, and will always be the first person to admit that I'm wrong. Um, Something I like to do, I like to look inward, deep inside of me, and see how that makes me feel, first of all. Second of all, I see, have I done some wrongdoing? Have I been, and if the answer is yes, and if I feel I resonate with that answer, I straight away either say sorry, I apologize, I like something that normal people do, right? I mean, you feel bad about something that happens and you apologize. I mean, this is what most people do. Most normal people, that have a normal brain. In this case, with narcissists and with sociopaths or with different kinds of abusers, because you have different kinds of abusers that don't necessarily have to fall under the category. Those that camouflage very well, for example, they will, first of all, they will never admit they were wrong. Never. And if they do, it's because they're trying to pull you back into their world. Because you see, you're their marionette. They play with you constantly. And it's just a way to pull you back into their theater of drama and abuse. Um, as a survivor of abuse myself, I can kind of tell, maybe not before, I wasn't able to tell these signs because I thought that love bombing and someone moving on really quickly, I had thought that this was a sign of, true love, intensity. So I am extremely naive in love, hence why I'm super careful now. I'm literally super careful. Like, I take my time. I'm like a slug. I go very slowly because I learned from my mistakes not to get too intense too quickly. And love bombing is definitely very weird. Um, so one of the tendencies for them not to admit to their wrong, they constantly replay scenarios in their head. They're very paranoid. They're very toxic. They always bring up why there's something wrong with you, but there's never anything wrong with them. Like, you are the person that needs saving. You need therapy. You need a psychiatric hospital. Like, you're always like in their heads. You are the poor lamb that they need to fix in a way. You're always gonna see as crazy, as delusional. If you catch them in the action, you catch them cheating or lying, they will always shift it back at you, like, oh, actually. And if they do admit to what they're doing, they're going to say, actually, you made it do it. I do it because you blah, blah, blah. It's always you. No matter what you do, remember, it's always going to be you. And there's nothing you can do to change these people's minds. They will really, really keep that's why they're so convincing. And I talked in the previous video with Amber Heard, which I straight away got backlash. So in this case, the first thing to look for in a narcissistic abusive relationship, obviously you're going to look at different factors. So the first thing to look for, and I'm taking an example from a person that I had unfortunately have to deal with, but it was purely my choice. You see, I don't like blaming anyone for my choices or my decision. I chose to deal with this person. You don't have to choose to deal with sociopaths or narcissists. But sometimes, as a ex-friend of mine said, sometimes there is no safe way to say if someone is a narcissist for sure, because as we all know, most of the time, excuse me, most of the time these people are extremely, extremely intelligent and extremely charming. In this case, the first signs to look for are definitely Mercury in Pisces, or Mercury square Neptune, or Mercury square Pluto. Pluto is the planet. Some don't consider Pluto to be a planet. I don't care what you consider, because I still use it for astrology. I had something spicy, so it's making me cough. Anyway, I use Pluto and Uranus, and I use Neptune in my chart. And if you don't agree, I don't care. Um, so anyway, I use, for example, the connection between Mercury, our mind, in Pisces. So Pisces can be greatly empathetic, but Pisces can also be extremely delusional. They can be very I noticed something about Pisces, and I'm not trying to roast your zodiac sign, and I'm not trying to make you look bad or anything like that. I've met lovely evolved Pisces that, their heart comes from a almost angelic place, They are very evolved and in tune with their emotionality and very deep. But unfortunately, as with Pisces, they tend to kind of enjoy victim playing, and they tend to because they are really, really emotional, and they have a sea of emotions inside of them. But they do seem to enjoy victim playing in a way. They just enjoy being that martyr, that poor little lamb that was sacrificed in the name of the good deeds that they have done. So the first thing to look for, and I'm strictly using uh, my abusers, my stalkers chart. I'm using the Mercury in Pisces. The Mercury is in Pisces. It's in the seventh house, so it's very significant for um, a communication wanting to be established or achieved within a nucleus of partnership, within a relationship, within talking to other people. And this can be great because his way of expressing emotions is very, very deeply emotional. He will tell you how he feels. He will tell you how that he will he will be very good at telling you how he feels. But there's a square to Pluto in Sagittarius, and if I'm seeing this correctly, actually, Pluto is in conjunction with Chiron, again the wounded healer. This combination, and it's in the fourth house. So in this case, there's always something that stems from childhood and stems from the family itself. In this case, I would say there has been neglect happening, there has been abuse happening, there has been a deep, deep wound within the family line. And that doesn't just apply to himself as a person, that also applies to his entire family DNA. So this wound is so magnified by Pluto. It's been carried on for generations now. And it's nothing new. But Mercury being in square to Pluto, and I often see this, unfortunately, and I have to say this very openly, I see this with people who are extremely manipulative, who will, the likes of people who will threaten to kill themselves if you leave them, or people who will act nice, extremely nice, and then they kind of they make you come back to them, for example, and then they keep abusing. They're very inquisitive, but they're smart. You see that the thing they have in common, they're not stupid, they're very smart, and they will find ways. First of all, they need to find your weakness, because once they know your weakness, and once you show your emotions, you show that you're vulnerable. Now they think they have you, and they think they can get you on that vulnerability. um, in this particular case, with this person, for example, Mercury is on the fifth degree, so the degree of Leo. Leo is an extremely dramatic sign. They're extravagant. I mean, I love Leos. I really do love Leos. They just bring um, so much light and sun because they're ruled by the sun. They bring so much sun into the world. At the same time, the ego is huge. It's enormous. It's a huge ego, and it's a Mercury that is very it's a Mercury that is very focused on their ego, my emotions, how I feel, how you made me feel, and yada yada yada. um Being in square to Pluto, Pluto is very power hungry. Pluto loves the power. Pluto loves the control. Pluto likes to go deep. This is a deep Mercury. This is a person you can talk to about very deep subject. You can it this mind isn't shallow, obviously, and it's not shallow, it's a deep Mercury. But the problem is it's square to Pluto. So there's either a person that has been mentally abused, manipulated in the past from the family itself, I would say for sure, because it's in the fourth house. The aspect is between the seventh and the fourth house. There is a deep, deep wound from that, probably emotional, verbal manipulation and abuse that has been going on in childhood. And this person carries on with this abuse in his life with his partners. Something I witnessed myself. Um, this is such a deep wound. It's something that kind of needs therapy at this stage. But the mind games, like with this aspect Pluto square Mercury, I've seen people playing very smart mind games. I'm not saying it's not stupid things you can tell right away, because this is what makes sociopaths, psychopaths, and narcissists, like the real narcissists. I'm not just talking about someone who is very egocentric, because they're quite, egocentric people are, they, they're easy to spot, they're harmless. They just think about themselves, but they're not actually there out to harm someone. And narcissists will, they look for their lamb, they look for their, mm, um, for for their next victim. In this case, Mercury square Pluto. I've seen them. Apologies, I've kind of lost the plot now. But I've seen that with a lot of people who are extremely intelligent, and I give them that because I like intelligent people. But the need to control, to manipulate and dissect someone's mind, find out their weaknesses, and then use these weaknesses against you because they know it's hurt. They know it hurts because it hurts them too. But it's easier to use that as against someone else than do some self work. It's very hard. Um, so this is the first aspect that I see with very manipulative people. I remember that there was a person, and I'm not going to because I don't want to get in trouble. There was a person who had that Mercury square Pluto. Um, this person was trying to, in very, very cunning ways, to extract information from me. And because I'm a Scorpio moon, I can tell that straight away. Um, we Scorpios moons, we have an X-ray. We can detect things that just don't feel right. There's something off. We can tell straight away. This is off. This is there's something wrong there. And even when people try to tell you, no, actually you're just paranoid, you don't know what you're talking about, I'm sure it's nothing, it's just harmless. I'm like, I'm telling you, I feel something's off here, and there's nothing that can shake off that feeling that I have because my X-ray told me there's something wrong, and I believe my intuition. I believe my intuition more than I believe, I don't know, more than I believe who I am. For example, um, in this case, this person has Mercury square Pluto, and in very cunning, very intelligent ways, this person was trying to extract information about, I'm not gonna say what about, but I copped on that, and I like, the thing is, when I feel that, I retrieve, I I ignore them, because, as I said in my previous videos, there's no point giving someone power, especially a very cunning, intelligent person that is trying to find out stuff about you, or trying to pry into your private life, but make it look very casual, merry, friendly. Unfortunately, it seems like most of the time unfortunately, I have to say unfortunately, because it's just my experience. Look, my experience does not have to align with your experience. It's just from because I'm an observationist. I analyze a lot. Um, from my observations, I have found that people that had a lot of um, Aquarius involved, extremely intelligent, extremely smart. I get that, like, brilliant. I mean, I absolutely love intelligent people. I have Mars in Gemini. I appreciate intelligence. But sometimes with intelligence, when someone knows how to use the manipulation right, um, they think they can get away with stuff. And with some people that don't really put two and two together, or don't have the X-ray, or don't have are not really born. Everyone is born with a sixth sense, but only some of us are able to develop it, because we are putting energy into developing that. Sometimes Aquarius are very cunning. Um, Sometimes I see them. Um, they're humanists. They're very friendly and they're lovely, but sometimes they will use cunning ways of getting what they want, because ultimately an Aquarius is to is out there to get what they want, and they want to be on a prosperous social ladder, or they want to be seen as these benefactor, these good people. Now, in combination with Pisces, um, gives them the intelligence to be able to play the victim, even though they know they're not the victim, because they were never the victim in the first place. But with Mercury square, apologies, with Mercury square um, Pluto, that can give them like great manipulation skills and an affinity towards prying, like literally um, possessing someone's mind and getting inside your mind, and then like, okay, weakness number one, weakness number two, weakness number three. How can I use that to get what I want? And it's something I found not with all Aquarius, but with most of them. And my best friend is an Aquarius, and I love her dearly. And luckily, she's got none of that. But with some of them, they can be quite like that. Especially if they have a lot of Uranus aspects. In this case, for example, this person has Sun in conjunction to Uranus in Aquarius, square Saturn in Taurus. Now, this tells me of a person that is extremely insecure. Um, there's something happened. Like, for example, it might have stemmed from some ill health situation, because it's in the sixth house. So it could have stemmed from school. It could have stemmed from anything, from a job, from a feeling of lack of self-worth. This person is extremely eccentric because of the Sun conjunction to Uranus, obviously, but this person is also very, their sense of self has been restricted. Um, if I am if I'm correct, this is in the ninth house. So because of this person having these certain beliefs, which are very eccentric and very extreme, because the ninth house has to do with our teaching, with our philosophy, with our belief system, and so on. So this person's beliefs, where he was persecuted for his beliefs because they are extreme. And I'm going to say they're not good. Anything extreme is just not good. And that's maybe my seventh house in Libra speaking. But I don't like extremes. Okay? I don't like extremes. I just don't like it. And it can be interesting, it can be funny, it can be hilarious, you can kind of laugh it off, but then you kind of need to realize, hang on, there's some balance that I need to have. So in a way, this person belief systems, they were restricted, and they were maybe um, they were diminished, which created this deep sense of insecurity and sense of never being understood by society, and ultimately seeing itself as a black sheep. Another interesting thing that I want to point out about this chart, for example, and I actually will, I might just show it in one of the I might just maybe show it later somehow. I just have to figure out my way. I'm still new to video making. Um, but I wanted to say basically that because it's in the sixth house, it's in square to Saturn in Taurus. So the Saturn in Taurus wants to achieve a lot. It wants to this material stability, right? To go, it wants to achieve a high level of education, which is possible for this individual. But the eccentricity and the unusual personality does not allow this person to really finish the studies, or to to complete a belief system, because it's always going to be so eccentric and um, so unwelcome in normal society. And don't get me wrong, I have a lot of ideas that are not, you know, they're not compliant with social norms. You know, I'm not gonna talk about them because this is not the purpose of this video. But there's a lot of ideas that I have that are very eccentric, but they're not hateful and extreme. I've I've no hate in my heart, and I don't hate anyone, even though sometimes I won't, because sometimes I get angry, but I don't. So in this case, there's a restriction to the self. There's socially social awkwardness, personality awkwardness. Unfortunately, you will see this sort of aspects. For example, I was looking at a chart of a where was that? The Ulvande school shooting. The teenager, well, the 18-year-old who got shot dead by the police. He was a Taurus with prominent Uranus aspects. Um, Quite concerning. Some of them were very good, which I was surprised to see that, but often it involves Saturn, in Uranus, which makes this individual socially awkward, unaccepted, and eventually cast out of society in a way because of what they say or do, which they don't understand. It's just not appropriate to be amongst friends or to be amongst a circle of people. I can be very eccentric. I mean, I've got Sun opposed Uranus. I am extremely eccentric. I don't live the life that most people consider, you know, I live life with on my rules, and it's very different from what some people expected me to live life like. And I don't follow social norms, but I don't do it in a hateful or um, I don't do it in an extreme way. I bother no one. I really don't bother anyone. I just keep to myself. But with these individuals, because they have such a huge ego and they can help themselves but had a huge ego, they they will unfortunately like seek that social approval and validation that if they don't get, they will start displaying very abusive and aggressive behavior because they want to let their anger out in public. This is how school shooting happens, for example. It's an anger, it's an ego that's so bruised and so unvalidated, and so unusual. And don't get me wrong, I like unusual people. As I mentioned many times, I have nothing against unusual, um, nothing against that. But sometimes you just have to watch out that this doesn't go extreme, because once it starts going extreme, there is always a potential danger that this kind of personality will their actions could escalate in any certain way. Another thing I want to point out, that often, now very often, I see such people, such individuals. They are very drawn to stable partners. For example, to partners that give them a feeling, a brief feeling of stability. For example, that are well settled, that partners who have a nice job, they have a good income, they can maybe provide and see them for what they are, and maybe provide them with that feeling of stability that they unfortunately did not have in their childhood because they themselves were abused really badly. So they have this tendency to go for successful partners, for partners with a house or a lot of money, so they can kind of cocoon themselves into their world. So they have this, like, because they always need something from you. I've never seen a narcissist or a sociopath or even a psychopath. I never seen them dating someone and having no use of that. Like, they always had something that this partner could give them, like a place to stay, food to eat, food on the table. They had comforts, they were pampered with emotions and they chose very emotional partners that respond well to love bombing, and they respond very well to the feeling of validation. But as they will validate you constantly, at the same time they will call you names afterwards, and they will tell you to die, and they will tell you they're gonna kill you and stuff. And it's just like this is the extreme. There's no there's no reasoning with them. There is no balance at all with these people. Now, in case of this particular person that I want to analyze, for the simple reason because this person felt it was funny to comment on one of my videos, and don't know the reasonings behind it, but this person felt it's hilarious to harass me on social media, which is why, okay, well, you harass me on social media, I am going to make a video about your chart so I can warn other people that perhaps understand astrology or have dealt with this type of individuals to warn them to look for red flags. So, you know, what can I say? It's brilliant when things like that happen because it actually gives me inspiration to to make content, to make something that I feel like a lot of people need to know, and this needs to be talked about. This can no longer be a taboo question. So coming back to that chart, and I might actually perhaps include it, or I might just like include it in between the video. So this person has Venus in Capricorn, right? Which is also interesting. Venus in Capricorn, the traditional ruler of Capricorn is Saturn. Um, I would say this person because Venus represents the female in a male's chart. So this person very much likes older partners that are older than him, that are successful, that are stable, blah, 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 blah. And I think it's making a good aspect to, yeah, definitely makes a very good trine to Saturn in Taurus. So potentially someone who is well educated, very intellectual, and who's got her shit together. You know, because they're not gonna go for, they're not gonna go for, apologies for saying that, a junkie on the street. Why would they? Because they think so highly of themselves, no matter how bad they are. They deserve someone very high up, or they deserve someone who's got their shit together because they can't put their shit together. They just can't. They just need someone to always give them that feeling of stability that they delusionally think they can have, because their personality are not able to keep that stability no matter how hard they try. And fair enough to people that have, for example, been diagnosed with narcissism and they were able to really kind of get therapy and get away from that somehow. But a few times it's been proven. Even I took a course in criminology, for example, and criminal psychology. So we when we had lectures, we have learned about uh, a part of the brain. Now I can't remember the name of this certain part of the brain, but it spoke a lot about there was an anomaly in that brain, where the emotional side was affected. That meant that these people could not are unable to express their emotions or feel for other people. Now this is obviously common in psychopaths. A sociopath, they always say a psychopath was born a psychopath because of this brain anomaly, or to be honest, I believe in spiritual possession, and I believe in demons, and I believe in negative spirits. So while I do believe the science as well, the I think it was it the frontal cortex? I can't, honestly, I don't want to say some bullshit, but it's proven that um they have been born psychopaths, so they can't help it, or they've been born possessed, or something just possessed them. There's some demon or some negative entity that took over them, unfortunately. And that's where, for example, you see men committing crimes and killing their entire family. Sociopaths, you become a sociopath because of societal circumstances. You unfortunately end up becoming one. With narcissist, obviously, most of the time passed on from a parent, or it was always the sense of like they were never seen, or never, I would assume, never talked about, or they were completely neglected, which therefore they have formed this psychological pathology, so to speak. Um, so, for example, like, it's very easy. I often analyze charts of psychopaths and sociopaths, for the simple reason that I have unfortunately dealt with some of them myself, and um, I'm gonna lie if I said they didn't scar me, but obviously there's always healing afterwards, and it would feel great actually if I could dissect their charts to maybe make someone who's watching this understand, to see the red flags in someone's chart. Because I believe, like, no matter how some charts, for example, did not make sense, um, for like certain people, um, that it felt like it didn't match their personality, but maybe because they gave me the wrong birth time. But for most people, it really makes sense, you know. Something else I wanted to talk about. So interestingly enough, there is once again the ruler of the seventh house of partnerships, the ruler of, you know, marriage and public relations and court, and you know, the seventh house rules many different things. It also rules public enemies, right? So in this person's case, the ruler of the seventh house is Neptune and Jupiter. Jupiter is, if I believe, on the 29th degree of Aries, and it's a very critical degree. And it's in square to Neptune in the fifth house. So this person holds great, like massive delusions surrounding love and romance. And there's this is a person that will tell you they love you from day one, you know, and they don't care if you find it creepy because they're in love, you know. And bless them, I mean, they believe they found the love of their life, and they can't seem to know that it creeps out most of the people. I don't think I've ever said to someone I love them after a day, no, even after weeks. It's just creepy. It's love bombing, you know. I'm not saying it's not possible. The definition in love comes in many forms, but you know what I mean. So in this case, this person holds extreme delusions about love, and you know, they don't take no for an answer. Once again, the eighth house is very important. It creates sort of dark personalities, or personalities that are just interested in very taboo subjects, subjects of death, subject of esoteric stuff, subject of like occultism, subjects of like property or tax. You know, you can see the eighth house, for example, bankers, they have the eighth house, but bankers are always doing stuff, they're always doing something fishy, you know. Or you can see that in chart of criminals a lot. Or you can see that in like therapies that deal with sexual abuse trauma, or generally like soul trauma, karmic trauma. You know, they give like a trauma coaching and so on, because um, they have maybe experienced that themselves, so they transform their pain into something really good. You know, I have Pluto and the North Node in Scorpio in the eighth house. It's been a big, massive thing in my life where it affected negatively and positively my life. You know, thank God. I mean, I'm doing pretty well, but it affected it affected my early life, where I had suffered a lot of abuse, and I have been through things. For example, I've heard and seen things that, for example, wouldn't be normal for someone, a child, for example, or a teenager. Like this stuff that I just should have not seen. Um, as well, with Pluto in the eighth house, it made me dig deeper into why these hate things happen. And it made me dig deeper into these dark personalities, because I, in a way, want to understand them, because I want to understand who the abusers are and why they do what they do. Hence why I pursued a criminology course in criminal psychology, because I wanted to. It's like, why would someone do that? Like, what would make someone be so evil? Like, why be so evil? Why? When life is so beautiful, you know? There's a lot of kind people. There's walking angels on this journey, you know? But there has to be a balance, unfortunately, of the evil and the good. So this made me understand the eighth house is going to, for example, can give near-death experiences. It can give you a lot of traumatic experiences from which you transform and you become a better person. Now, hopefully, this person that I'm reading the chart of, hopefully, there is going to be a time where this person is going to grow from its pain. I really, really hope it's going to happen, because this person needs it, you know? Um, but the first step into admitting we've been repeating toxic partners is to be self-aware, to know, okay, I have been acting out. I have to seek help, or I have to let healing come into my life. In this person's case, we have the moon and we have Mars in the eighth house. If I'm not wrong, they're both in Pisces. Okay, right. So obviously this person's energy is put into the subjects of sex. There's a lot of focus on sex. There's probably some sort of because there's Mars and Moon, they're conjoined in Pisces, and they're not aspected. They're not aspected in this case. There's a lot of like, I feel this person is extremely intense. Extremely intense. It's unaspected, so the energy has nowhere to go. It's unexpected. Nowhere to go. It's there just being kind of held together, and this like person can be emotionally very reactive because Mars is ruled by Aries and the moon is ruled by Cancer. And I know that because I'm a Cancer. Um, I can be extremely, maybe too emotional, too intense sometimes. But I keep it to myself. I don't like to bother other people with it because I understand that it can be very easily projected. In this case, this person has nowhere to lash this energy out. There's huge energy, huge emotional potential, huge potential to just be, you know, to just express his emotions. But because it's in the eighth house of Scorpio, these emotions are not expressed so openly. They're held back and they're about to explode. um, a lot of highlight on sexuality, on themes of crime. For example, this person is obsessed with weapons, and something I see with school shooters, for example, they seem to be obsessed with weapons first. They're first cast out from society. They're not understood, and then they develop an obsession with weapons, with knives, with guns, and they have these strange fantasies about putting someone to death or kind of being the ones who take someone's life, which is very sad. I mean, but it happens, and I'm here to talk about it because I just want people to know to look for red flags, like someone who has a moon conjunct Mars in the eighth house in Pisces. You will know that this person almost acts out like a moon in Scorpio, except this Mars is highlighted there. Huge sexual energy, huge intensity. And because it's in Pisces, jealousy and possessiveness as rejection, as as that is not reciprocated or if that is rejected, there comes violence, there comes obsession, there comes stalking, there comes issues, anger, but could be like quite, I mean, this is not just verbal and psychological, this is physical aggression, could very well happen. So this is the first chart of how would I say that, of an embodiment of such a person. I wouldn't say this person is a sociopath. I wouldn't say it's a psychopath. Definitely does not fit the criteria of the traditional criteria, but I would say definitely fits the narcissist stereotype, so to speak. And exactly, the moon being in the eighth house and expected with Mars, I would say that this person has probably fought a lot with his mom. There was a lot of altercations, a lot of probably developed a deep hatred for women because of how women, because when women feel scared and when they see red flags, when they see a violent man or a man who's been, they kind of like, normal women I'm talking about, we pull back. We're just like, what the hell is this shit? We don't want to deal with that. Like, I didn't deserve to be yelled at or hit or shouted at. That I mean, we're such feminine creatures. I mean, no, I'm not saying all women, but like, why would you want to put up with someone who's not has no boundaries and who's making you feel bad about anything you do or say, even if you have good intentions, like we don't want to be treated like shit, and we're gonna not gonna take it. We're not gonna allow this. Um, so deep hatred for women, rooted by the mother, in particular the mother. Um, and I think for now, you see the ascendant is Virgo. The ascendant is Virgo, so the ruler of Virgo, Virgo is on the third degree, so the degree of Gemini. So a lot of, like, this individual is extremely smart. Don't get me wrong. It's he is a smart individual, very smart. I mean, he can perfectly think for himself, even though he will make everyone believe that he's the poor victim and he's not capable because, oh, he's under so much stress. And there is so much stress because the stress I see often with like Virgo risings and people with a lot of Virgo, they stress so much. They they're capable to make make themselves physically sick because of how much they worry or how much they roll these paranoias into their life and scenarios constantly. What's gonna happen? Why is this person thinking like that? Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. They literally get sick to the stomach. They can get stomach cancer, they can get esophagus cancer. It's everything kind of like over here. They can have digestive issues, they can have cramps, they can have diarrhea, they can just get terrible pains in their tummy because of how much they worry. And I'm speaking of experience because I'm a Venus in Virgo, and when I worry, it sinks into my gut and it just gives me pain. And it's, making me run to the toilet, or, like it's not a things to joke with, because our mind and body are connected. Um, is there anything else I wanted to talk about? I think I'm kind of done talking about it. So this is um, this is a video or how to spot a narcissist, sociopath, or a psychopath in their natal chart, part one, because I will be coming back with more of these videos. You see, because I have Moon in Scorpio, I have Jupiter in Scorpio as well, but they're not in the eighth house, they're in the seventh house. I have Pluto and North Node in the eighth house in Scorpio. So I have a natural need to dig deep and talk about taboo subjects. Something that most people are like, oh, don't talk about this. This is all, you're attracting that stuff. You're not. You're just putting them out there. Um, you're letting them be seen because someone has to do that. Like, for example, police. The police has to exist. Someone needs to be dealing with these people, because if they don't deal with these people, they would be walking everywhere right now and making your life really hard. So like, some of us just kind of have to do it, life is beautiful. it, it's an amazing experience, but there's things that we all are meant to do, and I'm meant to maybe expose, or I'm meant to talk about the maybe dark side of life a little bit, um, which can be transcended into, if it's transcended into knowledge, then you're aware of it, then you can be more careful, then you can watch out for signs, then you can see red flags, and then you can stop this experience from becoming your experience. If sometimes we just can't control. These people are very unpredictable. Sometimes we cannot control it. But at times we can just stop it when we notice the red flags in the beginning. This is so important. And I encourage everyone who has any doubts, um, who who has that kind of strange feeling about someone, but they can't quite point their fingers at what it is, but their presence just makes you sick instantly, even though everyone likes them, for example. Watch out for that, because this is like literally your atoms in your body telling you there's something off. And some of us, even though we're unaware, but we tend to have a sixth sense, and we are able to recognize this stuff. But we lie to ourselves, we deny it, because like, oh well, everyone loves them, it's everyone thinks it's safe, but they're not so in tune with what they have, so they think this is good, and bless them. I mean, like, I've been naive enough to fall for that myself, and I've fallen for it quite a few times. And never say never, but I hope it's not gonna happen again. So this is it for now. Part one video. I will make a part two, where I will be analyzing someone else's chart. So this was the narcissist, and second one I'm going to do what I believe is a sociopath. I also want to do a celebrity video. And I am just going to be digging a bit deeper into that like dark kind of astrology for now. And if I feel like changing something, obviously it's gonna be random. But for now, I'm kind of like digging deep into that side. I very much got expired. My God, I got inspired by this week for in particular because it was a subject that was brought up a couple of times, just talking to friends and so on. And I was like, maybe I should make a video about this because this is the kind of topic that's not like it's not really it's been discussed, all right, but not maybe not within the astrology realm all the time because most of the time it's like, it's all rainbows and sunlight and rainbows, it's all like, oh, don't worry, it will all work out, which it does. But sometimes we just have to do a bit of shadow work as well to be able to, okay, identify issue number 1, 2, and 3, and now we can kind of work with this energy and we can make it better, or we can avoid it, for example. So yeah, that's it for now, and I hope you enjoyed this video. um, and take care, and I'll meet you with another video soon. Bye.